let's pocket Feduccia for a second, because David Bote is the flavor of the day, flavor of the week for sure. Last week, Kevin and I, when we were talking, it was Eddie Rosario, and then he has since gone, I think, hitless since we were kind of praising Eddie Rosario a little bit. So we can move off Rosario. I don't think to can my section of Eddie Rosario talk, I'll say this. I don't think the Dodgers need just a left fielder, and that's kind of all that he can do. Yes, the fact that he's a left-handed bat goes a long way for him. Everybody else would essentially be righty. Alex Friedland is a switch hitter. But he's also now, after getting hits in his first 2 games, Eddie Rosario again, hitless, and is hitting like 140. Not that batting average means everything. He's a veteran. We've been there, done that, all that kind of stuff. But I think this team kind of found one of those lightning in a bottle type of dudes that won't necessarily be on the roster for all of eternity. But David Bote, I think David Bote, again, is kind of that guy. Dodgers helping his swing. Kev, what do you like about David Bote, and do you think there's a path now for this dude to get that roster spot we were talking about a week ago for Rosario?
Yeah, so the reason I liked an outfielder is because they don't have a ton of depth, like a ton of true depth in the outfield. You have Edman, who could potentially play center field if you need him to, but outside that, it's pretty much Conforto and Teoscar. And there's not another true outfielder. It's Kike, Chris Taylor, Tommy Edman, a bunch of utility guys, not a corner outfielder if you need him. So that's where enters somebody like Eddie Rosario, left-handed bat, plays outfield. That's where I liked his profile. That being said, like I literally just mentioned, you do have Kike and you do have Chris Taylor. So if you need a corner outfielder, you can like throw them out there and you'll be totally fine. So that allows an infielder like David Bote. It gives him the advantage of being able to crack the roster because Andrew Friedman loves his optionality. He loves just guys who can play anywhere. So you got a second baseman, you got a third baseman. He's played a little bit of first. If you got to give Freddie a day off, he has definitely played himself into the conversation. Now, his career stats definitely, if you have to erase what he debuted in MLB in 2018. You have to basically erase 7 years worth of MLB playing time. Actually, he was fine in 18 and 19. He's had
different points. He's had different points of being fine. Even last year, hitting 304, again, if we're looking at batting average, he gave them a little bit of something in, extremely small sample size, but
37 games.
Like we've talked about a whole bunch of, this is not the 2005 Dodgers. It's not the 2021 Dodgers who were trying to find warm bodies by the end of the season. There's a different level of expectation with this team now. And I mean, 4 months ago, Clint would probably be upset to know that David Bote made the opening day roster. But then again, baseball's weird like that. Anyways, continue.
He's playing himself into the conversation. Yeah. He's had points. I think this team likes to use the regular season as, basically glorified, training sessions. And that's where I think he's at a disadvantage a little bit. I think this team is eventually going to want a left-handed bat off the bench, and they're going to want to give guys like Eddie Rosario or Hunter Feduccia looks to see if they can be that left-handed bat off the bench. Because of all that optionality that they have this very, very versatile spot where you can pretty much plug and play anybody there, and the rest of the roster makes it work. Unfortunately, David Bote hits from the right side of the plate. They have enough of that already. Yeah. You're asking about when would he even get at bats. They're going to put Kike in first. They're going to put Chris Taylor in over him, most likely. There's an argument Austin Barnes should be put in over him, most likely. Austin Barnes had a pretty good year last year.
He did.
They go Rojas if he's not in the it's a lot of right-handed bats you got to go through before you eventually fall to the David Botes of the world. So I think this team is going to want to give somebody who can hit right-handed pitching well off the bench. I think they're going to want to give them a try because even early in the season, there's going to come a spot in the 7th or 8th inning. It's like, you know what? Hey, we got, man on second, 2 outs. Let's just see what we can do and just see if Hunter Feduccia can come through a handful of times. That's, where I'll leave that.
Eh, on Feduccia, because I do want to talk Bodie a little bit myself as well, but on Feduccia, it's like it does feel like it's time just to let him get some major league service time, even if it's not playing a whole bunch. I agree with what you said, Cody, about maybe helping spell Will Smith a little bit more, because we know he needs more time. Will Smith can't be going out there and catching 130 games. It just doesn't help for the dude. It does not work for our guy, for our all-star catcher. Sorry, our first half all-star catcher, and then he kind of falls off, and then next spring they tell us, oh yeah, he was totally battling an injury for most of the season or something like that. And yeah, Bodie, one of the big things working for him is, he can play third base, he can play second base, and we know they have not prime depth at center field, but they have some dudes that could run out there they feel comfortable enough with. Also working for Bodie is that he does have one more minor league option year. So if they did bring him up, they did call him up, that would help keep him around. And we know how much the Dodgers love to manipulate players like that. And again, he's played a lot of third, more second base in his minor league career and as a pro. But I do think that left-handed issue or whatever is going to come up and bite them in the ass. But there's not really somebody. It's not going to be James Outman. And if it's not Kim on that opening day roster, and we could argue that he could get better getting more playing time at AAA, and that seasoning that we were talking about a little bit ago, it feels like the imperfect either way the roster is going to be imperfect. Giving Bodie that last spot, in my opinion, as like a for now guy, for the first month guy, it makes the most sense at this point in camp. And Cody, like you said, we got about 3 weeks until opening day. I think slightly less, slightly more until opening day in Tokyo. Sorry, opening morning for some of us in Tokyo. Some of these things are going to figure themselves out. But for right now, a couple weeks into camp, my clubhouse leader, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is David Bote. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you are a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. They have the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and soon we'll get some MLB back in there. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. This I promise you, because they told me to say that. But every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything else to the Bote conversation, or if we should talk about the fact that this team should be smarter and just say, F it, go with Hunter Feduccia. But anybody final words on Bote, at least in this part of the show?
I'll share some respectful words to David Bote. Fun fact, his 2018 walk-off Grand Slam home run is one of Matt Vasgersian's greatest calls over the last 10 years. But this guy's clutch throughout his MLB career. And I agree with Kevin where it's like you kind of got to wash, the first 5 years of his, his career in Chicago. He spent the time between AAA and the major league level last year. I mean, if you look at his slash line last year, I was kind of perplexed when I looked at it because he had a batting average over 300, WRC plus well over 100 or 120. He looked good, but it was in like a small 48, at-bat sample size. So depth piece. And I think that's what the Dodgers originally signed him for, a minor league deal. They were saying, hey, come to camp. We got some changes to make to your swing. We'll see if they work in spring. And here we are now. It seems like those changes have benefited him. We'll see if there's any regression over the next couple weeks. If he continues playing at a high level, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him come on the roster for the first month or so of the season. Say if they really want to give Kim some runway in the minor leagues, you have Bote right now say, all right, he's a proven major league player. He's got like around 6 years of service time. Let's give him some runway. Because if not, I don't think in his contract, if he doesn't make with the camp or break camp with the team, he could just theoretically go back and hit the free agent market, which is what someone like Eddie Rosario is kind of banking on, saying, all right, I'm definitely probably not going to make this team. Let me play with them, learn from their coaches, have a good spring, get released, and go sign a major league deal with like the Nationals, the Pirates, someone along those lines, get my guaranteed money. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Interestingly enough, he's played a lot of positions in his career, but mostly at second base and third.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the Dodgers are kind of strategic looking at it for the first couple months of the season, it could be, hey, well, maybe, if Max Muncy needs a day off.
Bork, bork.
Some dogs
Man, you
barking
said
at
Max
someone over
Muncy.
there.
The dog got mad at Max Muncy.
Dog.
He's having a good spring. Come on now. All
Yeah,
good. It's all
but
good.
I definitely think, I think Bote playing third base could alleviate Max Muncy a little bit. I definitely think it could move Kike Hernandez into center field like we saw in October this past year. I think the Dodgers' plan right now, they don't really have an answer for second base, center field. Those seem to be the biggest question marks. Tommy Edman, if you ask me right now, I would love to have a Gold Glove infielder on this defense right now, especially with Freddie Freeman banged up, Mookie Betts kind of experimenting in the middle of the infield, and then Max Muncy. I mean, he's made strides, but he's also in his mid-30s. He's not going to get, Gold Glove caliber over there. Shore up that infield defense. David Bote gives you flexibility there. Chris Taylor, I've written about it before. His defensive decline has also been just as his offense, but we'll see what happens. If you had to give me a betting man, and say what's my idea of what's going to happen, I would say Bote probably doesn't make the team. He may be there for that Japan series just because it's a 31-player roster, so I think he'll enjoy that.
That's
but
still
the
making
Dodgers,
the team, baby. That makes the team. You just lost your bet.
All right. Well, he makes.
Does he get a roster bonus for making that?
Maybe he does. And then what's messed up for him is that, I bet he would hope to not make the roster just so we can kind of come here, learn the team's sort of secret sauce, and then go, like you're saying, sign somewhere else. Because if they roster him, he's going to be stuck with this team for a very, very long time on that AAA Express if he's got that option, since he has that option year left. That's where somebody like Eddie Rosario, obviously, he can kind of, there is no more option, so he would either be big leaguer or have the option of free agency himself. But anyways, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think I'm with Cody. I don't think Bote makes the roster. I actually was thinking about it with that option. It does actually increase his trade value kind of a bit. He's had a good spring. Maybe there's a situation where the Dodgers DFA him as a favor. He doesn't necessarily get a full out release. He doesn't get that far. They DFA him. A team sees his spring training, sees the swing changes he's made, knows he has an option if needed. So if a team is kind of on a 26-man roster crunch, or if they need somebody to fill in for a little bit, he's got a little bit of trade value attached to him. That's a possibility, but I'm with Cody. I don't see him cracking the roster as good as he's been. I actually would have Rosario above him cracking the roster simply because we know the Dodgers love allowing veterans to get a shot. And
this year's David Peralta or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they've necessarily housed worse players. Offensively, Jason Hayward's definitely worse than Eddie Rosario, but at least Jason Hayward could play
I say the
defense.
two words, Cavan and Biggio.
Yeah, Nick Ahmed.
Trace
your
Thompson.
favorite. Hey, he hit 3 home runs in one game.
By the way,
Put some
I want
respect on
to hit the super chat from our friend Kevin Uhas because it hits kind of one of the things you guys are saying here about Bote getting the DFA. It says we can always DFA Bote and activate CT3 off the IL. CT3 is going to be on this opening day roster.
Yeah.
And it's funny the way we're kind of talking about this final roster spot as if it really is meaningful when we consider that the guy who was the last dude on the roster last year was Chris Taylor, and he was basically unused in the second half. Yeah, he hit really nice. Small sample size, hit 303 in the second half, but that was across, 40 at-bats or a very tiny amount of at-bats. So these are really just – we are digging into – this is how good this team is or should be. We are digging into, the most inane idea here or I don't know. It's funny. We're talking about one guy who's going to barely get any playing time. And whatever that last guy, whoever gets that last spot, anyways.
Whoever the last guy is makes the roster on 29 other teams. I think we can all fairly comfortably say Chris Taylor is on every other team's roster. David Bote is on every team's roster, especially after the spring training he's had. So
yeah, and that
we
goes to show
we are spoiled for choice.
Spoiled, yeah.
that just shows how deep the Dodgers team is. And I feel like that's just been the conversation where you look at the minor league talent, you look at, the NRIs that made it to camp, the free agents that they've brought in. There's only 26 spots on the roster. The Dodgers have enough to field a 40-man team if they really wanted to. And I think that's along the lines why teams want or players want to join this team, because they know they're going to get the best coaching. They know they're going to get pushed to the limit. They know they're going to get a better opportunity. So, I think that's a big storyline. I feel like we know the roster for the most part is set. It's locked. We know the players that are going to be there. It's really like Clint, you said, 7 position players, 1 open spot.